the game has changed. HMRC has changed the rules around claiming back taxes for your professional expenses. Thousands of doctors like you have used the guide on moneywise.com/tax relief guide to claim back several thousands of pounds in tax relief for things like GMC, MDU, BMA, Royal College expenses, and previously you could just walk through the guide we made online. Before we get into it in details, let's look at what you can claim. These are sort of like the commonest ones that everyone can actually claim and do all of it online and get your tax relief. But now HMRC has made some changes. If you're a doctor or healthcare professional and you haven't been claiming tax relief on your professional expenses, you're probably missing out on a few thousands, if not several thousands of pounds. But here's the thing, HMRC, the UK tax bosses, have changed the game. Recently, they've brought in new rules for claiming tax relief, but don't worry, in this video I'll guide you step by step through the updated process so you can claim what is rightfully yours. Now, to start with, if you're one of the thousands of doctors or healthcare professionals who have downloaded our guide, our free tax guide in the past, or used or watched any of our previous videos, you probably already know the process that we used to use until recently to claim your tax relief. It was once a simple and stress-free, no paper receipts required. You could do it online. But many of you have told me how you successfully claimed your taxes. I even know a couple of people, maybe 2 or 3, who claim up to £10,000 worth of expense relief because they've not claimed for a few years. But things have changed now. HMRC have recently updated the system and the process now requires a bit more effort. But don't worry, I've verified all the details directly from the HMRC website. I've even gone ahead to enroll with a seminar and also ringing them to have a bit of a chat, so you don't have to. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Dr. Egwim. I'm an ex-salaried GP and I'm an investor and the founder of Moneywise Doctor. I started this platform to help doctors and healthcare professionals make smarter financial decisions and avoid costly mistakes. Alright, if you're interested and you're in for the ride, hit the subscribe button and just come along to make sure you don't miss out anything. Alright, let's dive right into it. Now you might be wondering, why bother spending an hour or maybe 30 minutes to claim tax relief? Well, let me break it down for you why this is really important. If you claim your tax relief, there's a few things it can help you with. 1, it can significantly reduce your tax bill. 2, it can increase your take-home pay. And 3, it can help you avoid giving money to the government unnecessarily. You don't want to overpay your tax. You want to pay what you're due. With the rising cost of living, stagnation of wages, inflation and everything going on, especially if you're a higher tax rate payer, if you're falling into the 60% tax trap, you want to do everything you can to lower your tax bill so that you're not overpaying. Whatever you can do to come down a band, that will work. I first learned about tax relief myself from my accountant years ago. I went to the HMRC website just to double check it after they mentioned it. I double checked the process and guess what? It was all perfectly legal. So the first year I claimed about £2,500 myself, but when I added multiple years that I've not claimed in the past, it jumped to about £7,000, and that's money that I would have missed out on if I hadn't taken the time to understand the process. And here's the kicker, you can claim up to 4 previous tax years. So you can claim the current tax year and you can also claim the 4 previous tax years. So don't delay, don't let procrastination cost you thousands. Now, let's get into what you can claim before we get into claiming. 1 is your professional membership fees. So if you think about General Medical Council, BMA, MDU, Royal Colleges, GMC, we mentioned that NMC, these are the main things, but you can also claim things like mileage, your exams, if you've written things like PACES, AKT. You could also claim things like your medical equipment. For instance, your stethoscope, if you need to replace it, you can also claim that. So these are a few things I can claim. There's a full list of what you can claim and what you cannot claim in the downloadable manual. You can get the link in the description to download it to make sure that you don't sort of like claim the wrong thing, because now is a paper process rather than online. So you don't get that quick feedback. You don't want to send off paper receipts and then you come back and hear a different thing. Now, as of October 2024, the process has changed. And what's the new change? You now need to complete the P87 form. So that's a form to claim now. Print it, attach your receipts, and post it to HMRC. I know. It's a bit more work than before, but don't let that discourage you. You're entitled to this money, so let's go get it. Now, if you check the link in the description, you're going to download the step-by-step guide that can help you through the process. But also, I'm going to demonstrate to you in this video how to fill out the P87 form. It's the same form that you are doing online. If you're not too sure, you can check my previous videos on the same issue, but now you do it on paper, and I'm going to show you right here in this video. All right, I'm just going to show you step by step how to claim tax relief on your professional expenses. Like I previously discussed, the old guide which we made, which was very good for doing it online in an easy way, has been changed basically because HMRC introduced some new changes in October 2024. But don't worry, it's still quite simple. It's just that it has the extra inconvenience of being on paper. You have to download and print the P87 form for claiming your taxes. Previously, you could do all that online, but now you need to download the form and send it the receipt, the receipts of everything you're claiming, as well as a mileage log if you're claiming for mileage. I think the best place to start is that I'm going to share my screen. The form itself is it's not a difficult one, it's the P87 form. Let me share my screen now so you can see what I'm doing. All right, so that's the form, the P87 form. Says tax relief for expenses on employment. You can easily find this form with the link in the description because we've included obviously the link to download the updated guide. So if you sign up with the link there, then you receive the updated guide in your email. So this is the form. If you're wondering how to get it, there are many ways to get it. Again, inside the guide which we've shared, you can get a link that will take you straight to this form, and you can download it. Alternatively, you could just go to Google and type in claim tax relief for your job expense. If you do that, it's going to bring you up to HMRC website. So let's click that. So if you scroll down, you can see claim tax relief for your job expenses. You can see overview, working from home, uniforms, vehicles. So this is professional fees. Remember, the main things you're trying to claim your things like your GMC, your BMA, BDA, or whatever are the main professional expenses you've made. Remember, there's also fees for things like Royal College. If you're in GP training or a GP, ROC GP is an important one. Obviously, for other colleges, you have your own expenses too that you can claim. These are the basic ones. Obviously, the guide has a list of things that you can claim and things that are not allowable. So you can use the link in the description to download it. Okay, so looking at this at the moment, if we choose professional fees and subscription, which we have, it takes you down, it gives you a bit of information. Again, if you've used our previous guide, you've already seen this. This is nothing new. It says you can claim professional membership fees if you pay the fees to be able to do your job. So you can't pay for your golf club membership. You can't claim it back. But if you have to pay GMC, obviously, BMA or BDA and an NMC, then it's really important. Okay, so you can claim it. Basically, that's what it says. You cannot claim tax relief on life membership subscription. Yeah, we know this. I'm just going to scroll along. Then it says how to claim. Previously, if you clicked this start now, it took you to the online form, or it asked you some questions and then took you to the online form. But this is important. It's mentioned here that if you complete a self-assessment tax returns, you must claim through tax return instead. So this process is not ideal for somebody that does self-assessment. And again, if you go to moneywisedoctor.com, you'll see an article that I've written about self-assessment, who needs to do self-assessment. If you earn above 100K or you have other sources of income, there are quite a few criteria. So if you do self-assessment, no, don't do this form. Stop now and go and do your self-assessment with self-assessment tax returns. Of course, if you need a specialist medical accountant, if you need an expert in that area, you can find one through moneywisedoctor.com. You can find a specialist accountant that can help you through the process. Well, let's crack on. I'll click start now. So when you go to start now, again, just like before, it will ask you all the criteria, like select all the expenses you want to claim. Let's focus on professional expenses, but there are other things you can claim. Obviously, there's working from home. If you work from home, you use a business phone, and there are things you want to claim, fine. But I'm assuming that you're a doctor, probably you're working in a hospital and a GP surgery. So I'm just going to jump straight to professional expenses. As you can see, there are other expenses here as well. Now, the professional expenses, again, here they've actually said who are the approved organizations. Obviously, things like GMC, BMA, you can always right click and open to that window to check if the organization is approved. But basically, the common ones, the ones that were in the previous guide, they're still the same ones that are approved, basically. So I'll click on continue here. Now, the next question, who are you claiming expenses for? I'll say myself, then continue. Are you claiming for expenses after 5th of April 2020? There's a reason for this question because you can claim 4 years back plus the current tax year. So if you go back, the last tax year that you can claim for is the tax year that ended 5th of April 2020 because a new tax year, the 2020-2021 tax year started 6th of April. So that's why this question is important. So you can say, yes, you're claiming after. So you're claiming anything after the 2020-2021 tax year. That's what you're claiming. Click on continue. Now, the next question, again, these are all eligibility questions to make sure that you're eligible to claim the tax. Did you pay tax in each of the years you're claiming for? Of course, if you haven't paid tax, you shouldn't be claiming tax relief. I've heard someone say, well, I just moved to the UK and, well, I haven't paid tax this year. Can I claim tax relief? No, it's tax relief. You can only claim tax relief if you've paid tax. So you say, yes, you've paid tax. Okay, continue. All right. So again, another question, do you complete self-assessment returns? Then you say no, because if you say yes, and if you do self-assessment, then this form is not for you and it's going to advise you the same way. So say no and continue. All right. Again, another criteria. This form is only for people claiming less than £2,500 per tax year. So this doesn't mean you cannot claim up to £10,000 or more. It just means that for each tax year, the maximum you can claim using this method is £2,500. I think I made it sufficiently clear, abundantly clear in the previous guide, but just I might stress it just in case you haven't watched the former video and you didn't have the opportunity to use the previous guide on how to claim back taxes. You can find our video still on this YouTube channel. So we'll say no because you're not claiming more than $2,500 per tax year. Okay. Now, big question. Has the employer paid any of your expenses in this claim? So again, it depends. If your employer has paid for it, you shouldn't be claiming it. So if your employer has paid for it or didn't pay for everything, you can say, yes, some of my expenses. But if they've not paid any of them, I'd imagine your employer hasn't paid your GMC, your BMA, maybe even your indemnity. So MDDU, MDDUS, MPS, all those type of expenses. You need them to do your job. So you can actually claim those ones. So you say, no, none of my expenses. So click on continue. And when you click on continue, it tells you what you already know, that you are eligible to claim these expenses by post. This is the annoying bit. Basically, I don't know why HMRC decided to take 2 steps backwards, because obviously, if you did it online, if there were errors, if you were claiming more than 2.5, then the computer wouldn't let you progress. It will tell you, the system will show you immediately that there's an error. Obviously, there was some pain there. If you're trying to find General Medical Council, you wouldn't find it. You might need to do something like Medical Council General. If you're looking for BMA, instead of seeing British Medical Association, you might see Medical Association British. That was a problem with the online one. Obviously, if you knew, then you can navigate it. Now, but if you do the paper form and you post it to HMRC, who knows when they are going to get back to you or how quickly? And if there was an error, who knows if it might take a year to have the back and forth with them. Well, it says you're eligible to claim these expenses by post. What does that mean? Basically, it means you're going to have to download the form and fill it out. But don't worry, it's not difficult. It's a P87 form. Now, before sending your claim, look at the one in here. Check the guidance below for each type of expense. You may need to send evidence to HMRC for some claims. Complete a form and send it by post to claim your expenses. Again, the address where you send it, we're going to display it on the screen after we completed the form. If you follow this video, When you get to that point, you'll see the address for HMRC that you can actually post this form. So it's no longer all everything. You can't just do everything online. Now you need to get a paper prescription. Sorry, not paper prescription. You need to do a paper form, put it in an envelope, put a stamp on it, figure out the time that you can get to the post office and send it to HMRC. Right. Okay. So you can claim tax relief for professional expenses. Okay. The evidence required, you must send copies of receipts or other evidences to HMRC to show that you paid for the professional subscriptions. And some people have asked, how can I get my receipts? It's very simple. If you have a GMC account, GMC online account, you can log in and actually download your receipts easily. I mean, it might lengthen the scope of this video if I try to start showing you how to log into GMC online. And I'm sure a lot of people have covered that area, but it's not that difficult. If you go to GMC website, the same with ROCGP, the same with BMA, most of them would allow you the opportunity to log in online and go and download those receipts directly. So you can use those, print them out, and you can use it for for claiming your tax relief. Obviously, if you have any difficulty getting the receipts or if you have any questions, I'm quite happy for you to pop them in the comment section or send me an email, or better still, contact the organization directly. For instance, if you were using MDDUS for your, let's say, indemnity, if it turns out that, okay, you do need to download a receipt that is not available, then of course you could give them a ring or email them. Right. So let's crack on. It says claim by post. Okay. So previously that could be claim online, but now it's claim by post. All right. So let's see. It says you're eligible to claim and you can do it with the P87 form. So it tells you a few more things when you can claim. You can read through it. It says you can make a claim if your claim is within 4 years from the end of the tax year you're claiming for. Then your total expense claim for each tax year is £2,500. Again, that's reinforcing that criteria to make sure that you know. So the amount has to be less than 2.5. If it's more than 2.5, you need to fill a self-assessment tax return. Also, you must have paid tax in the year you're claiming for. You cannot claim tax relief on job expenses if your employer or any other person paid back all your work-related expense. An example of this is the mileage. When I was a trainee, basically registrar, you could actually claim your tax relief from the Dinary Health Education England. I think their name has changed now. But there was the option of claiming it from them or claiming it from HMRC. So if you had claimed it from the Health Education England, you shouldn't go back to claim it for HMRC. All right, so there's some information on how to complete the form. Some people think it's helpful, some people think it's not that helpful. But basically, you have to download it and save the form on your computer. You can open it and then fill it out. Then send the form to HMRC. There's a link here you can click at to download the form. So if you click on this link, it can take you directly to the form. So we can fill out that form together. Lovely. So I'm not going to fill out things like names and titles and phone numbers. I think you know how to do those ones by yourself. But basically, you can just click in and type. So if you click in here for the form, depending if you've got the Adobe, you can just type, then type your surname, just that way. So you can do that, do your date of birth as well. Fill out basically NI and everything, first name, address, postcode, your personal details, really. I think we should look at page 2. That's where I think it's most important to explain. So you can see that there is employment details here. They want to know where you were working when you paid those taxes so that you can claim against those particular periods. So you can see there's A, B, C, D, E. What this is basically the current tax year and then the past tax year up to the 4 previous tax years. So you can actually come here and add to update it. So this is 2024, this is 2023, because the year ending that you're claiming, if it's for last year's it ended 5th April 2024. So that's the last tax year. I usually suggest not to claim the tax year that you're already in. I usually think it's better to wait for the tax year to finish before you do a tax return or tax claim. just because you don't know what tax events might happen, if you might incur some extra expenses or things that you can actually claim through tax. So if you were to ask me, I'll say it's better to start from 5th April 2024. We're doing this video now. I think the changes were made in October. We made the video in November 2024. So depending on when you're watching it, if you're watching it in 2034, maybe the tax rules might have changed before then. So you can actually put in the year. You can say 2022, 2021, depending on which tax year you're claiming for. Again, if you've claimed for these previous taxes, obviously you don't need to claim for them again. You can just crack on and just do this one if that's the one that is left. Okay, let's look at the other things in the rules. Employer payee reference number. So you can get this one from your P45 or your P60 document. Another way you can get it is to log in your personal tax account. If you don't know how to log into your personal HMRC tax account, it's simple, just Google it. Or if you check the link in the description and you get like the guide, even the previous guide we made can show you how to get it. Has the link that can take you straight into the HMRC personal tax account. So you need to get your employer payee reference number for that particular job when you are doing it. So you can put it here for, let's say you were working as a junior doctor in Royal Cornwall Hospital during that period. So if you don't have your P45 or your P60, then it's got to be through your personal tax account. You can get it out from there and put it in this box. All right, job title, I'll just say doctor. It's simple, straightforward, rather than trying to explain too much of your whether you're a consultant or junior doctor. Now, employer name, again, straightforward. Like I gave you an example, Royal Cornwall Hospital or wherever you are could be an option. Maybe Royal Devon and Exeter. As you can tell, I live in the Southwest. So, then first line of our employer address, again, that seems very self-explanatory. Employer postcode, and then type of industry. I think I should mention here that for type of industry, you don't necessarily need to put anything here if you are not claiming flat rate expenses. So flat rate expenses, like if you want to claim for uniform and stuff like that. But most times that seems to apply to nurses and carers, people that actually have to wear a type of uniform that they have to, learn, send to the laundry and all that. It doesn't quite apply a lot of times to doctors. So I will skip type of industry. Obviously, employee number in that particular job. Remember, this is just all under the column A for the 5th April 2024 year ending. So it all depends. If you've got other things to claim in other years, you can still go ahead and claim them. All right. So if you crack on, the next one is flat rate expenses. Again, like I said, most doctors don't eventually claim flat rate expenses. If you're a nurse or you're a HCA, you might be able to claim them, put it inside here, whatever you've spent. Then put it inside here. I think it's a flat rate that HMRC would usually approve. Right. Now, this is where the main thing is: subscription to professional bodies. Right. So all your General Medical Council, your British Medical Association, British Dental Association, NMC, Royal College of GP, or Royal College of Anesthetists, or Royal College of Surgeons, whatever, Royal College of Physicians, or even your MDU. This is where to put them. So again, this is for the tax year. This ABCDE represents tax year, where A is the most recent tax year you're claiming for, and E is the most distant tax year. So probably because of what year we are in now, I think that this will probably be for the tax year ending 2020, 2021. That's the one that you can claim. All right. So if you put in the names of the professional body, what I'll do here is I'll write in full General Medical Council, okay. It's quite it's a tiny space. But previously when it was online, then you couldn't write General Medical Council. You had to search it out. And then sometimes you end up with Medical Council of General or whatever. So you can write those bodies there. So General Medical Council, you can write your British Medical Association, whichever body that you're claiming, you can write them right inside there. I don't know why they've made the space small, but you can write. If you're using a pen to write, you might be able to get more into that box. All right. Obviously there's amount of subscription. How much did you pay? So that affects what you claim, isn't it? Because it's based on what you pay. Now, amount repaid to you, you put 0, obviously, if you've not gotten any amount repaid to you. And then expenses claimed, you can also put 0 if you expenses claimed will be the total amount. So let's say you had GMC and you had BMA and you had let's say ROCGP all in this box, because then this is the only box available for all of them. And you go to I don't know what is the exact amount that you've paid, but let's say it's 1,200 for all this. So that's the amount you've paid. Amount repaid to you is 0. So expenses claimed will be 1,200 minus 0. So that's 1,200. Okay. So that's basically the subscription to professional bodies. Okay, but if you want to go down now, there is a mileage allowance. So if you have actually traveled, if you're working from home, obviously you don't have mileage. If you're going to your regular workplace, but there's something called business mileage. So if you've had business mileage, you can also claim it here. I think it's 45p for cars for the first 10,000 miles, and something like 25p below. You can always Google these things. Let's not spend too much time on it, but most time you find out that when you claim mileage, there's not a lot actually that comes out from it. So if you've got a mileage in that tax year that you want to claim, then you can input it here and put the amount. You can always use online calculators like the AA calculators to calculate the distance, and it's quite a very good one. I know that I used to use it many years ago to calculate the distance from one point to the other when I'm claiming mileage. All right, so for the first 10,000 miles, you multiply by 45p. Then over 10,000 miles, you multiply by 25p. That's what you can claim relief on. All right, and then you add it up as usual. Maximum tax-free amount, cars, van. It you get in here. This way you add that. Okay, so I'm going to skip ahead now. Go to the next page. So there's obviously motorcycles. If you've got a Harley Davidson or a fantastic motorcycle, I think the rates are different. You want to check those as well. Okay, so basically it's just figuring out how to fill the form properly. So there's hotels and meals expenses. Again, this would depend. A lot of times it might be a bit difficult to claim this one, especially if it's not in line with your job. If it's in line with your job and you've incurred the expenses during your job, then you can always input them here as long as you're submitting the receipt as well. Right, so there are other expenses. Now, this is quite an important one because you can see there wasn't a lot of space to put some other things like your Royal College of GP exams. For instance, if you were a registrar and you did AKT, so applied knowledge test, then this might be an opportunity for you to come and actually put in those details. So that's other expenses. Or let's say you were doing PACES, you were writing your MRCP. But what you do is, remember, if you write AKT, HMRC couldn't care less. They don't know what AKT is, or they couldn't care less. When it was online, it was great because you get the feedback there straight away. it won't go through, so you know you've not done the right thing. So what I'll suggest is to write MRCGP, or you can write that in full. So Royal College of GP hyphen, AKT. So if you write in full, I'm just writing basically because I'm typing and it's quite big. So Royal College of GP AKT. So you can do the same with your Royal College or wherever and put the name of the exam, maybe in bracket or hyphen next to it. So this will be the opportunity. You put the amount you spent, the amount repaid to you, and the total you're claiming for. So that's what to do in that regard. Okay. So again, this is obviously just another continuation. It says record any additional amounts you have received, not already declared on the form. So HMRC is giving you another opportunity to say, if your employer has given you some money, if you have other expenses that you've made that you've not been able to you've not found any other right place to put in, this is the place. Number 8, amount repaid to you by your employer. All right, so total expenses. So this session, you work out the total amount of expenses you are claiming for each tax year. This is why it's terribly annoying, because I'm not saying I don't have anything against doing some maths. as long as it's not public maths. And I know that obviously doctors know how to do basic maths. We don't want to do very complicated ones. But HMRC, when it was online, you could actually just impute it and it will calculate it for you automatically. I mean, it's 2024. And they've given us this form. They haven't bothered to make it a spreadsheet so that when you put in your expenses, it can run the numbers for you. All right, so you have to bring out a calculator, punch in everything that you've actually imputed, and then make sure that your total net allowable expenses that you're claiming for the year does not remember does not exceed 2,500. So they said it cannot be more than 2,500, but you should go back to those boxes that you filled in, like box 3.1, 4.4, the boxes where you've claimed, and calculate all of them. So if you do it that way, A will be for 1 year, and if you are claiming multiple years, like I said earlier in the video, I had this JP who for 4 years had never not claimed. He thought he was just allowed to claim once, so he claimed when he was starting his training, and he didn't claim again, and he was paying his GMC, BMA, different associations and all that. Yeah, so you can go up again and do for the other years if you wanted to, or if you had things to claim. All right, so this is number 10. How you want to be paid. So if you're entitled to a refund, payments can be made to you or someone on your behalf, none of the nominee. So basically, you could tell HMRC to pay you, or they can pay someone you nominate. So again, straightforward form. So all other nominees do not need to provide an ARN. Okay, well, agent reference number. This is a straightforward form. You can say, well, payment by check. That's an option. So who do you want the check to be made available to? So you can tick here. If you're using it on your computer, if you're using obviously a pen, just tick. So you can say make it payable to me. Okay. If you choose that, then you have to go to the declaration on page 7. It's probably something to say, well, I'm getting this check and I've told the truth. If it was a nominee you wanted, you can put in the nominee's name here. Okay, so you can say, I authorize this check to be payable to my nominee. No, that's not the one we're choosing. We're choosing that it's paid to us. Okay, so next one, are you nominating a professional acting on your behalf that charges a fee for their service? This is really quite important, right? For instance, if you're doing it through an accountant, so I do work with them, specialist accountant, not just for my personal tax and self-assessment, but also for my business. So if you're working through a specialist accountant, they've got their fees. So you can tick here, yes. If they are the ones doing it for you, you can say yes. And by that, you might be able to get some of the fees, claim them back. But basically, here, if you're doing it by yourself, then you don't need to touch that bit. Okay, right, I'm just gonna scroll up again, rather scroll down. Okay, so nominee agent's reference number, that's what it is there. Yeah, and you can include the details as well, and of course declaration where you sign your name and say I and the Egwim. You say, I have said these things and I'm saying that they are true. So the information I've given on this form is true and complete to the best of my knowledge and belief. If you give false information, you could be prosecuted. So that's the standard stuff. So you double checking and make sure that everything you've provided is correct and that you've actually checked it. Then you put in the date and you sign. Okay, so that's the process. It might actually be a little bit easier to do the physical form than the online one. The only big challenge is that the online form, I know someone said to me, oh, I really enjoyed just watching your video, using your guide, and we did it step by step. We didn't even need to ask anyone any question or get any help. So the online form was good in that regard. The problem with the physical one is that once you're done, then you need to get to the post office. I might not fall into your work hours. Then maybe before you know, the time passes and you're just like, well, I don't have time for this. Anyway, so they're giving you additional information of what to do now. It says, do not send any paperwork with this form unless you are claiming fuel cost in a company car. So if you're claiming fuel cost, then you need to send paperwork. Also, if you are claiming mileage expenses for using your own vehicle for business journeys and your employer has not reimbursed any of the cost, then you can send paper. Now, it also mentions that if you meet this criteria, please see the guidance. Okay, All right. I don't know if the vast majority of doctors use the employer's car. Okay. Now, the rest of the fine print there, it says when you have printed the form. So basically, when you complete the form, you need to print it. It says when you have printed the form, please complete, sign, and date the declaration on page 7. That's one we've already passed through. And then send the completed form to pay as you earn and self-assessment. So that's the address. Pay as you earn and self-assessment, HM Revenue Customs BX9 1AS. Okay, we'll put it on the screen as well. This is the address where you have to send the form. But this is something really crucial. Anytime you're dealing with documents that are this important, that you're dealing with obviously HMRC, it's important to keep a record. It says you are advised to keep a copy of the form you sent to HMRC with your own for your own records. And I think it's really quite important. I think in HMRC they do really important work. They are very serious with their job. Though there could be human errors, there's always opportunity for system failure. So it's quite important to have your own, backup to say, oh, look, I paid this amount, or maybe I claim this amount. Okay. All right. I think we are at the end of it now. I don't know if you've got any questions. There are a few other things here. HMRC charter, defines service and standard behavior. I don't think this is any of our businesses at all. Yeah, they tell us a lot about how to use our information, which is important. But I hope that helps. In a nutshell, what it is that you've got to get the form online, download it, fill out the form, put it inside an envelope. So if you put it inside an envelope and then put in the required receipts, your GMC or any other expenses you've made, and then post it to that address that's on the screen. Now, if you've got any questions or if you've got any other insights or if there are any changes you'd like to highlight, or if you just want to say hi, tell me in the comments below. I always like to hear from you. And of course, if you wanted the downloadable copy to make sure you get more meat in it, more details, or maybe more broccoli, depending on your diet, you can head over to moneywisedoctor.com to download it, or check the links in the description and can download it very easily. All right. Well, I hope that was really helpful. I hope that you'll be able to use it to claim your taxes back. If there's anything confusing, email me with the email in the guide that you've downloaded. And of course, go ahead and subscribe to the channel to make sure you continue getting useful tips that can help you make smarter financial decisions and avoid costly mistakes. Let me know if you're able to claim and how much you're able to claim. Tell me in the comments. Come back and comment here. I do like to hear about some of the success stories, and I enjoy those testimonials. It makes the research even worthwhile. All right, then. Bye.